It's Thursday, so that means NFL Week 2 is here. I had a bit of a rough week last week, going 8-8 on predicting the winners and 0-16 on the correct score. So let's have a better week here in Week 2. Let's start with tonight's game, Vikings versus Eagles. Both teams looked a bit shaky in Week 1, but the Eagles were able to come out victorious over the Pats. And the Vikings offense doesn't look like it's going to be able to carry this team throughout the season. I'm going to take the Eagles in this one, 27-17. Now we move to Sunday's 1 p.m. games with a great one to start us off in Bengals versus Ravens. Burrow looked arguably the worst he's ever been in Week 1 last week against the Browns. And the Ravens had a good win against the Texans. They started to get it on in the second half, but they lost running back J.K. Dobbins for the season. With that being said, I'm going to take the Bengals in a close one, 27-24. There's just no way Joe Burrow plays that bad again. Lions versus Seahawks. The Lions defense looked great in Week 1 against the Chiefs, and they looked great overall. The Seahawks had a bit of a rough game against the Rams, but I don't think they'll play that bad again. But with that being said, I'm going to take the Lions in this game. It's going to be another shootout, 33-30. Colts versus Texans. A matchup of two rookie quarterbacks. Richardson looked really good in Week 1 despite the loss. And CJ Stroud, he'll get there, but the Texans looked a little bit rough in Week 1 as well, despite playing against the Ravens. I'm going to take the Colts in a close one here with Richardson having a good performance along with Stroud, 24-21. Chiefs versus Jags. This should be a good one, a rematch of the AFC divisional game last year. Mahomes rarely loses back-to-backs, but that Lawrence to Ridley connection could give them some problems. I'm going to take the Jags in an upset 27-24 over the Chiefs. Bears versus Buccaneers. The Buccaneers surprised me in Week 1. Baker Mayfield looked really good out there. And the Bears just look like the exact same team from last year with Fields running for his life back there. I'm thinking the Bucs start off 2023 2-0 with a convincing victory over the Bears, 27-10. Packers versus Falcons. The Falcons were able to dominate the ground game against the Panthers in Week 1, but I think they're going to need the pass game against the Packers. And Jordan Love looked great in his debut and might be the answer for the Packers. I'm taking them in this one, 23-13. Bills versus Raiders. Josh Allen looked simply terrible in Week 1 with 4 turnovers, but he tends to bounce back from performances like that. And Jimmy G was able to lead the Raiders to a hard-fought win over a tough defense in Denver. But I'm going to take the Bills in a close one, 24-21. Chargers versus Titans. The Chargers offense looked explosive in Week 1 against Miami, but per usual they lost another close game. And the Titans offense looked very unimpressive with Tannehill throwing 3 picks. So I'm going to take the Chargers in this one on a bounce-back win, 24-13. Now on to the 4 o'clock games with Niners versus Rams. The Niners look like the most complete team in the league, dismantling Pittsburgh last week. And the Rams impressed me last week without Kupp, but the Niners are just too much. I'm thinking they win this one, 27-10. Giants versus Cardinals. The Giants were simply the worst team in the league last week in Week 1. Despite the rainy conditions, they still lost 40-0 against an elite Cowboys defense. And the Cardinals looked a lot better than I expected in a close loss against the Commanders. But I'm going to take Daniel Jones and the Giants in a bounce-back performance, 24-10. Jets versus Cowboys. Both defenses are legit, but the Jets obviously just lost basically their entire team with Aaron Rodgers going down in the first 4 plays of the game last week against the Bills. And if Dak keeps his turnovers down, I think the Cowboys are going to be a tough team to beat. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one, 17-10. Commanders versus Broncos. The Commanders barely squeaked out a win against the Cardinals, and now they're going to have to face a tougher defense in the Broncos. And while the Broncos offense didn't look great against the Raiders, they'll be able to get Jerry Jeudy back this week, which should help. I'm going to take the Broncos in this one, 17-3. Now, on to Sunday Night Football for Dolphins versus Pats. The Pats impressed me in Week 1. They look like they're going to be able to make some noise in the AFC this year if they can continue to play some good defense like they did against the Eagles. And the Dolphins' offense looked fantastic with Tua looking revived, and Tyreek Hill looks unguardable. I'm going to take the Dolphins in this one. It's going to be close, 27-20. Now on to Monday Night Football, well, there'll be 2 games being played this Monday night. We're going to start off with Saints-Panthers. The Saints squeaked out a win against the Titans, but I see promising future for them with Derek Carr looking like he's getting ready to have a bounce-back year in New Orleans. And the Panthers are young, and Bryce Young will need some time to get acclimated to the NFL. I'm going to take the Saints in this one, 24-13. Now to finish it off, we have Browns versus Steelers. Deshaun Watson looked a bit rough in Week 1, but their defense looked extremely legit against the Bengals. And the Steelers simply look like a dumpster fire, but they'll have a better week this week. I'm going to take them in a close victory over the Browns, 24-21. Those are my week 2 predictions. Make sure to come back next week for week 3 and leave your predictions in the comments below of this video. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.